Hello, friends. I wanted to make a video. It's kind of that's pretty loud to be hearing it. Almost 2 a.m. Never a dull night in Oklahoma. I wanted to make a video that was like more being myself and not scripted vlog type video. Though none of my videos have been scripted before, but I really talk slow and not entirely been myself. Tried to carefully map out what I'm saying, but that is not the definition of being yourself. So here is the being yourself video, and I think I'll title this one "Life is Beautiful," because it is beautiful. And recording this way kind of feels like you're talking to yourself, though, which in all my studies and reading in recent times and trying to disconnect from being controlled by the mind, all the Eastern wisdom I've been accumulating, kind of look at talking to yourself as a bad thing. Maybe not bad, maybe not negative, but not a helpful process. But I'm talking to an audience, so there's going to be a person watching this, and that's you. Thank you, and you're awesome, and you're wonderful, and you're beautiful. And yes, life is beautiful. And being grateful for everything, regardless of its bad or good outcomes, perceived or otherwise, has been one of the most helpful lessons in this person's experiences that has been a great help in discovering. Not having enemies is another thing, and I really didn't. From my personal experiences in life, I didn't really see that aspect until my children started to get old enough where they would say I have enemies or I have friends, and I'm like, and I remember with my son, my youngest, he would say I have enemies, and I'm like, you're 6 at the time. He was 6. How do you have a list of enemies? But he didn't put it that way. I can't remember now. It was pretty funny in the way he put it, but it was like, no. And in my spiritual studies, especially the earlier days in Christianity, everything Jesus said about friends and enemies, and then in the latter days with all that Krishna said in his message about being everyone's friend, I've tried to put that message forward to the children, to everyone, and it's a good message. Jesus had said, "Love your enemies like you love your friends." I believe that's how it goes. And Krishna is known as the universal friend to everyone, everything, every being, all of existence. So, And that goes hand in hand with being grateful for how beautiful life is, for life itself, for everything, for being life, for being a full-fledged life. And I'm sure Buddha has a thing or three to say on the subject as well. I'm heavily in all the Buddhist scriptures right now. Not all, but a lot. Some of the Tibetan Buddhism, some of the Zen Buddhism from Japan, some of the shucks. What else I never say that word, by the way. Ancient Buddhism from the earliest days in India. I've been listening to a lot of Osho, a lot of his talks on Buddhism, according to Atisha and according to the Gautama the Buddha himself. And there is a lot to say about compassion, and a lot to say about love for everything and one in general. And this is a little momentary commentary pause. This is a very, very rambly video with no clear path. Kind of like a bunch of people just wandering in a field, or maybe like a bunch of cows wandering in a field. But it's a being myself video and putting out a good message. So there we go. And playing with my comb, the old beard comb. But back to being grateful and how beautiful life is. Looking at everyone as your friend. That's one thing that I've learned in the past several years. And that can be hard when you go out in everyday life and you come across individuals that act a fool. That's not hard to do in modern American society. Anywhere you're at, East Coast, West Coast, South Coast, Midwest, North, you're gonna come across some people with a tremendous amount of character in one way or the other. And so being a friend to everyone can be a challenge depending on your perspective. And that is one of the keys, perspective. I've also found that in my vast studies of all things spirituality from all corners of the planet and otherwise, from other realms, supposedly, according to such text received from the beyond. I don't know if anything I've actually read says that. Well, I want to say the Tibetan Book of the Dead, the Book of the Liberation of the In-Between, was received from the beyond by the Lama that wrote it down. So that's one. But probably others too. But that is a real ramble I'm off on. I don't even know what I'm talking about at this point. Ooh, focus. Okay. We're in the field, roaming around, a bunch of humans or cows, whatever you prefer to be. And let's see. Being a friend to everyone is a challenge in modern America or in the world in general, because there can be a lot of frustrating people out there that are very much encased in ego, which is not hard to be if you're just a human raised in the world today. Most of us are. I myself had an excellent teacher of how trapped in ego one can be in my own raising, with my own parental figures. And I say that with the most kindness and love in my heart for both of my parents. But when you're growing up, you observe how things and people are, and you see it. And by the time you're a young adult, you think, wow, that's a stark contrast to how one should be towards other humans, towards other beings in general. And so from an early age, I saw that being trapped in your ego, before I even learned about such concepts through studying philosophy and spirituality, specifically Hinduism, Sanatana Dharma, or Buddhism, that I saw from an early age being trapped in ego from observing my parental figures is a place to not be at all, especially if you suffer from mental illness along with that, which it is mental illness in itself, or substance abuse issues, which many of us do. And being heavily egocentric doesn't help in the end. It puts you in a loop of pain on more than just a physical level, on a spiritual level, mental, emotional level. Harsh lessons, which I'm sure many can relate with in their own experiences. Things I certainly still suffer. Well, I don't use that term anymore either, actually. It's kind of almost a turn of phrase that I've been so used to using that it just comes out as, I don't even know if that's an actual phrase people use, what I just said. It's a figure of speech. That's what it is. That's the one that I use. But I don't suffer from such things anymore, but still get caught in them. Still get caught in ego and emotion, and it's hard, especially being a parent to children, to young children, to young or to older children. Can definitely get caught in ego easily. And that's been one of the greatest challenges I've seen in delving into spirituality and combing through the world's religions and studying is, as they call it in the East, we don't really say it in the West that way as much, being a householder, or just being a family person, and being a spiritual individual as well. And some of the greatest figures I've covered in my studies have tried to mesh those two worlds together, being a family person and also being spiritually healthy. One of the greatest examples I can think of is Swami Sri Yukteswar, which I believe is the guru of Yogananda Paramahamsa Yogananda, however you say. I can't remember if the former comes first and the latter second, but Yogananda, his guru, was renowned for putting forth that attitude or that idea and that message of being a householder, having a home and a family, and being a husband or a wife, or just being a parent to children, and living a good life and understanding all the concepts that trap us in ego and make us toxic to our fellow beings. And his book, The Supreme Science, I think that's what it's called. Or is it, I think it's just The Spiritual Science. It's a good book. It's a short book. It's only, I listen to most everything I read, so I don't actually read physical books. But it's only about a 4-hour listen. And he talks about humans being vegetarian and the celestial nature of the universe's effect on the human being in this age and in previous ages, and ties it in heavily with Christianity and the scriptures from the Bible, the Old and New Testament. Very, very intriguing if you're a spiritually, religiously minded person that wants to see through the bullcrap human-made religion aspects and see the real meat of the spirituality within the religion that we're all presented by men. Then that's a good book to look at, and that's Swami Sri Yukteswar's The Spiritual Science. I think it's The Spiritual Science. I'm going to have to fact check that whilst I'm here on video. And this is turning into a lengthy affair, almost coming up on 20 minutes. That's quite a bit. The Holy Science is what it's called, by Swami Sri Yukteswar. Yukteswar. One of the best books I've listened to / read in the last 3-4 years, and very eye-opening to the if you've been a Christian in the past or have any familiarity with Christianity, with the ties in the scriptures from the Bible with many things in Hinduism, in Eastern thinking, and Jesus' message very well ties it together. And talks a lot about human spirituality, or just spirituality in general, as a helpful force. So I'm getting a bit of the dry mouth. This has been a good being yourself talk, and I've enjoyed it. I'm gonna try to see if this software I'm recording this with, if I can do the text on the screen with what I'm saying, because I think I did this in one of the iPad programs, and in the past I've been able to do that. Though I think these days YouTube automatically does that for anybody on a video, so maybe it's for naught that I'm doing that to begin with, so I might not even do it. I might just let the platform do it itself. This has been a good little rambling session about some helpful points, namely that life is beautiful, and being grateful for everything, however it affects us, and lastly, being a friend to all. So I've gotten in the habit of saying friend to anybody I talk to, but I almost partially, being a Star Trek fanatic, not really fanatic, but a lifelong Star Trek watcher. Oh, my phone's wanting. Oh, I'm on Audible, and Audible thinks I'm talking to it. Being a lifelong Star Trek person, enjoyer, I've heavily watched Star Trek Voyager, and I always loved that Commander Chakotay would call everybody friend, and to the point where I watched that whole series on DVD years ago, and then I watched it again on streaming, and I was like, that's a good way to be. Just call everybody friend. Listen, friend, but don't do it a threatening way. He sometimes in that show he would do it kind of in a like he was like going to challenge someone to a fight, but still said friend. So, but good points, good points. Life is truly beautiful, and this has been a wonderful experience making a very long video about that message. So if you've stuck around through the whole thing, thank you so much. And I look forward to making more of these in the future, talking about positive messages. That's my ultimate goal, doing content like this and also playing music, which I got some songs in the mind, in the being, that I want to put on recording and put on the YouTube channel as well. I enjoy creating music, and I don't do it enough. Sometimes I end up gaming more, like the Blades videos that I usually upload, which is cool and fun, and it's a good community to be a part of that I'm in with that game. But music and the creative force it brings is wonderful as well, along with this facet with communicating one-to-one or one-to-many about such beautiful thoughts and ideas. And so this is Mark saying have a wonderful New Year's Eve, because it's New Year's Eve right now, today, 2022 going into 2023. And it's going to be a beautiful new year. A lot of wonderful experiences to come. And happy about that. Happy about everything. I usually smile all the time. I probably look crazy to most people. That's okay. That thought really never crosses my mind, actually, until just now. But I never really thought when I was younger, when I was trapped more in mind and in substance abuse, which for me wasn't really a horror story of any sort. It wasn't any extreme drugs, more so just cannabis and nicotine. But I didn't think in those times that happiness could just well from within one's being for no reason. Because there is no reason. It's just what you are. In the end, when it's all stripped down and all the pain has gotten past. And that's in future videos, some messages and some ideas and some just things that I'd like to cover, and helping others in the future somehow to see that reality, that pure happiness can truly spring forth from your being if you simply allow it. And it sounds very simple when you say it like that, but then it almost sounds like it's not realistic, or I'm being an ass, or I'm just being one of those people that, oh, you have mental illness? Well, just stop having it, because it's not as simple as that. There's a lot to go through to get to that point. A lot of pain to wade past. A lot of deprogramming, if to use such a term, to get through. From the day we come out of mom until we're adults, there's a lot that's put into us that's very counteractive to what a wonderful being can be. And I hope to help others realize these things and as we move forward. Well, thank you again for watching, my friends, and I hope there goes the comb. I hope you'll join me again soon.